Hey everybody, Pin here, welcome back to another video. Just got some extra bits behind the scenes stuff to showcase regarding the animation that I put out yesterday. Quite a few things to get through, starting with a personal thank you to the Reheated team for spending the time to compile the maps that I could then use in Maya. They're basically one giant plane, but I was able to scale it up and add all of the components that you see in the animation. The buildings were actually made from scratch, so I just created simple 3D shapes and then applied the textures. The textures aren't amazing, I'll admit that, but at least they're in the right places and they are relatively the right size. If I have any issues regarding scale, then do let me know. If you think that the scale of certain things doesn't look quite right, then I'd like to make improvements on that regard. But there's also improvements to be made with facial animation. I need to spend some time making a 2D facial rig because I chose an interesting route when it came to the facial animation. Initially, what you can do if you want to make some 2D facial work in Maya is you create basically a single plane and you apply the facial phoneme shape, the mouth shape I guess, to that plane, and then you sort of use an image sequence to then key in each individual facial shape. But I tried to do that and it didn't really work for me. I ended up having to do each mouth shape individually and animate the planes individually, which is, I guess, a long way of doing it, but I just wanted to do it in Maya and not have to rely on doing it in Sony Vegas, which is what I did with the Hogs of War Tails video, and that really didn't look that great. It doesn't look amazing in this animation because there are quite a few places where the mouth kind of moves a lot, like when the guy comes down on the parachute, but it was fun. To tell you the truth, those mouth shapes are actually from the Lego movie, or at least they're used on Lego characters, but they seem to work here. I just wanted to find some simple mouth shapes and put them as PNGs so they can at least be transparent. As you can see, those planes don't have any backgrounds, which makes it easier to animate. And I guess once all of the facial shapes are directly underneath the character that I'm animating, it makes it a little bit easier, and I kind of got into a process of doing it fairly quickly. My initial process is to start by getting all of the camera shots done, having all of those elements implemented before I even start animating. That way I can then visualize what the animation should be. I originally started with some storyboarding. I sketched up some ideas that could be funny, that incorporated elements from the game itself and things that players can relate to. But the thing is, originally this was going to be an episode by episode series whereby we took a team from the game and I was going to look more in depth at creating a storyline, creating a plot, character development, having bad guys and good guys, a real like Hogs of War story that showed more in-depth detail behind the scenes, I guess, behind, you know, what happens after a mission, what happens before a mission, all that sort of stuff. But I got like halfway through animating the first episode before I realized that the scale of the project that I was trying to achieve was just too much, and that's why I swapped it out for the idea that I originally had with the Hogs of War Tails series, which was to create comedy-based skits and make them relatable to players by just picking on things within the game that were funny and, you know, that happened quite regularly. This was also the first time that I created my own particle effect. This is the first time that I've sort of fiddled around with particle effects in Maya, but as you can see, it is just a very, very simple explosion that eventually fades out to nothingness. But I was also having trouble trying to set the first keyframe, or at least using this multiple times and setting it to different keyframes within Maya, so I had to do that post-edit in Sony Vegas, which was a pain because, you know, you can't get the initial, not necessarily realism, but just having it in the animation just makes it easier. Having it in that 3D space makes it easier rather than having to rely on doing it in an editing software like Sony Vegas. So the outro only took me like 2 days to animate both the animation itself and the facial animation. If I scroll out, you can see that I do have a sky dome, and this is of course the very first mission, Estu, which I've had some fun with. Just putting in all the elements here. You can see I've got the health crate there as well. But for some reason, I don't know why, the helmets for the gunners, on some of them, they just have certain sections, like this individual face right here. Like, why is that so shiny? And the same for like the back portion as well. There's like a face here that was flickering on the final render. But the thing is that if I render it here, like all of their hats are shiny, and I think that's due to the normal maps. I think in this scene it's messed up, but then in the other scene, like the actual final animation itself, not the outro, the helmet is completely fine, and I have no idea why. All in all though, guys, that's going to wrap everything up for this video. I hope you enjoyed this little look at the behind the scenes for my most recent animation. If you want to see some more animation work to do with Hogs of War, let me know. I've still got some things planned and in the works that will be upcoming soon. But in the meantime, I'll catch you guys later for the next one.